Hey, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Fantasy Six Pack to talk about Monday Night Football, the end of Week 14. The Cincinnati Bengals go to Dallas to battle the Cowboys. Kickoff is at 8:15 p.m. This thing opened around 49.5 points, and now it's up to 50, which is a ho-hum kind of over-under. Half a point here, half a point there. We shave, and we'll move on. As it stands now, both of these teams are in third place in their respective divisions. Cincinnati 4-8, the Cowboys 5-7, the NFC East versus the AFC North. You have Philly, the New York Giants are in the bottom of that division. Philly's boom at the top, and then when you look at the North, you have Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Then you slot in Cincinnati and Cleveland at the bottom of that one. What are we going to do? Where are we going to go? I got to tell you this really quick. When we look at this game, of course, I wrote down maybe a dozen or so players, but I have it hammered into about 3 or 4 players. Like that's my core, and we'll go from there. We're going to maybe do a different style because I have Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Brown. Those three, Chase Brown, those three are my mainstays. And again, that could be a cash lineup, but you can't go wrong with all three of those players, even in GPPs. I mean, if you're not going to play Joe Burrow, I have him for like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. You're going to miss the cash line. Fingers crossed you don't. But hey, there's a lot of other fun options. So to me, we're just simplifying our roster, right? As I said, on FanDuel, there's 5 spots. On GK, there's 6. So if we can lock in 3 spots, we're kind of not hedging our bets, but it's more statistically speaking, more upside for us. So you lock in 3 guys, and then we can fill and mix and match the other ones. I love both Dallas wide receivers, Turpin and Tolbert, but hey, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we get into all that, we're going to go 6-7 minutes, probably not, but that's what I like to say. Make sure you get to the website. As I said, this is the tail end of Week 14. So if you're still playing seasonal fantasy formats, you got to be close to the championship game or the semifinals. For that, I wish you the best. Good luck so far. Win all those championships and win some cash. If you're not, come with me. We're friendly. We're all friendly here. I'll welcome you. There's a spot at the table for you here at fantasy6pack.net if you want to talk DFS, sports betting. We have your back at all times. Come hang in the Discord. It is free, but there are some premium channels. And again, all you got to do is tag me. I don't care if it's free or you're paying or whatever. My advice, to be fair, has always been free. It will always be free. Let's talk about this game. Cincinnati, Dallas, 8:15, something over under 50, something. Both teams are in third. But don't let the records fool you. I still think we see a phenomenal game here, a high-end score, over 50 points. But why? How are we going to get there? Let's start with Joe Burrow, Joe Cool. This dude has been on an absolute heater, and I've said a few times, and again, I'm not on network television. Is it thankfully, unfortunately? I don't know how I feel about that, but Joe Burrow's been on an absolute heater, and as I said, I'm starting to feel a little bit bad for him. The dude's been playing absolutely lights out. Would he be in the MVP conversation if Cincinnati was in a playoff spot right now, if they were leading their division? Probably, because Pittsburgh and Baltimore are outstanding, but so far, Joe Burrow has topped 300 passing yards in 3 straight games. He has at least 3 touchdown passes in 4 straight games. It's insane. So why would I not have him to throw 3 touchdowns here tonight? Anytime Cincinnati and Burrow have been on, like a single game slate or prime time, and I've made a video, we've hit home runs together in terms of his projections. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. That I mentioned that, and that was the game he threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. So hey, lock in Joe Burrow. 300 or more passing yards, 3 or more passing touchdowns. And he'll move the chains maybe once, twice would be ambitious on the ground for around 10 yards. And get this, Dallas is allowing the 5th most fantasy points a game to opposing quarterbacks. Joe Burrow is an absolute smash, lock, elite, however you want to do it, MVP captain spot, and we'll go from there. If you want to win any sort of money tonight, and again, you can come back to the video and call me a dummy or I'm stupid if it doesn't happen, but I'm very optimistic that Joe Burrow is the only MVP captain we need to discuss tonight in cash games, GPP, across the board. It's a wonderful thing when we can, dial in and it's not all this mix and match and will it be Gesicki? Will it be T. Higgins? I mean, those guys could probably do something, but not like, I'm going to stamp my pen, not like Joe Burrow's going to do tonight. When we look at the running backs, That's it. We're moving on from quarterbacks. When we look at the running backs, it's all about Chase Brown at Dallas or Rico Dowdle playing Cincinnati. Let's start with Chase Brown. Dallas Cowboys 29th overall against opposing running backs, 12-5 on FanDuel, 9-8 on DK, 17-18 carries, 80 yards, a touchdown on the ground, 4 to 5 receptions for around 30 yards. And get this, I have all these nice little, stats. I can't remember everything, but Chase Brown, he's topped 100 scrimmage yards 3 times the last 4 games. And in that same span, that same stretch, he's averaged 18.5 rushing attempts and 5.5 receptions a game. He's absolutely a must-have tonight in our GPPs or cash game lineups. When we look at Rico, is he a lot less desirable? I won't say that. You're going to want to lock in all these guys, but Rico Dowdle against Cincinnati, you can't say kind of a slam dunk. Slam dunk, it's either in or it's out. But hey, Cincinnati, they're allowing 128.2 yards a game on the ground, and Cincinnati's allowed 16 rushing touchdowns this year to running backs. So the chances are high that Rico finds the end zone as well on 13 to 14 carries, 60 yards, 3 to 4 catches for another 20 yards. And again, by the way, all those touchdowns Cincinnati has given up on the ground, that makes them 27th in the NFL in that specific category. When we look at the wide receivers, it's all about Jamar Chase. So see, there's nothing out of school or going out on a limb here. As I said, Joe Burrow, Chase Brown, and Jamar Chase, those 3 lock them in, and it helps simplify. That's the word I've been looking for since the start of the video. Helps simplify our lineups. Our odds go up, simplification, and we can be in peace and watch this game. As it stands now, Jamar Chase, 10-11 targets, 7-8 receptions, 100 yards and a touchdown. That's his floor. Why not? He's got 13 total touchdowns so far this season. But get this is a nice statistic, and I think you could see that the local Dallas people are saying for the first time this year, Diggs and Bland will be starting quarterbacks for Dallas. And it's like, oh yeah, they're back, right? I love that even more because Diggs takes a lot of chances and he gets burned. He's toast, however you want to put it. And it doesn't matter. Jamar Chase, it doesn't matter who he's going. You could go get, Superman could be the one cornerback and then Batman or the Flash. No, Batman would be the other cornerback and then the Flash would be at safety. And Jamar Chase would still, catch 8 passes for 200 yards and score a touchdown. Maybe he would throw one too, but hey, to me, Jamar Chase, a lock. I have a little asterisk next to T. Higgins, and you think of asterisk, you think of it as a bad thing. It's a note to say what I'm about to say is false or it's trash, whatever. But when you look at T. Higgins, he's at double-digit targets in 4 of 7 games. He's reached at least 60 yards in all but 1 game this year, and we know he missed a handful of games, but all of that leads me to tell you there's a very safe floor here with high upside. And the two, fantasy, daily fantasy or seasonal, those are buzzwords, but they get the point across if you use them, only once in a while. T. Higgins, 8-9 targets, 6 to 7 receptions, 80 yards, and he'll score a touchdown as well. And then we're left with Yosavash, not much going on, 2 to 3 catches, 30 yards. But then when we get to the Dallas Cowboys, wide receivers, and CeeDee Lamb has to be on our radar. I've made my plans tonight don't include CeeDee Lamb. Could it come back to burn me? Absolutely. But it's a calculated risk in a game in a DFS lineup where I'm trying to mitigate risk. So, hey, we can move on. But when you look at CD, get this, Cincinnati, they've allowed 241 yards a game through the air, and Cincinnati's allowed 22 pass touchdowns themselves. And get this, when you look at last week, Russell Wilson absolutely torched this Bengals DST, 414 yards and 3 touchdowns. So you could see Dallas is going to have some success through the air because Cincinnati's going to be running and gunning. I have them to hang 31 points. So where is all this other yardage and stuff going to come from? It could be CD, but he's $14,000 on FanDuel. And again, you can't replace CeeDee Lamb unless it's Jamar Chase, but we're going to lock him in. And when you look at Lamb, 6-7 catches, 75 to 80 yards, he's kind of banged up with the shoulder injury. And as it stands now, more than likely he'll play. But to me, the idea of Jalen Tolbert and Kevontae Turpin both together in the same lineup is what I'm after. As I said, Cincinnati 22nd overall against opposing wide receivers. Each guy is 7-5 on FanDuel. Tolbert's 2-8 on DK. and Turpin is $3,000 on DK. I have each guy 2 to 3 targets, each guy 2 to 3 receptions. And when you look at their total yardage at the end, it's got to go with their averages, right? Tolbert, 11.6 yards a catch, and Turpin, 13.1 yards a reception. So, as I said, Burrow, Chase, and Brown, and then you have enough money to put in Tolbert and Turpin in the same lineup, and that's one GPP lineup I've locked in since last night. But Chris, what about Brandon Cooks? He's come back. He's looked good. He's always good for a sneaky touchdown. So hey, run with it. He's 10-5 on FanDuel, 3 to 4 receptions, around 40 yards. Again, 10-5 on FanDuel, while CeeDee Lamb is $14,000 on FanDuel. Mitigating risk, as I said, and replacing it with some upside guys, which is how I learned to play GPPs, right? It is what it is. When we look at the tight ends, Mike Gesicki, 4 or 5 targets, 3 to 4 catches, 35 yards. And when we get to the Dallas Cowboys tight ends, Luke Schoonmaker has been their bread and butter. He's been locked in. He's filled in admirably for Jake Ferguson as he's been out, but Jake looks to be back tonight. So I have Jake 6 to 7 targets, 4 or 5 receptions, 50 yards. But I wrote down switch ? Because I have Luke 1 to 2 targets, 1 to 2 receptions. So what are I think they're both going to be, pecking at each other because Luke has been so good for them. He's filled in admirably, as I've said. So Jake comes back and just gets all the work and will say, see you later, Luke. I don't think it breaks down that way, or it could. And that's what freaks me out. It could, or it could not happen. And given the fact Jake is $10,000 and Luke is $8,000, I'd rather fade both of them and pop in, let's say, Tolbert, Turpin, or Brandon Cooks, and we'll move on from there. If one or the other, Ferguson or Shoemaker, go off or catch a touchdown, I'll eat it. But as it stands right now, I feel safe with the plan that I have. When you look at the Bengals so far on offense, they're scoring around 28 points a game, but their DST is allowing 28.3 points a game. The Dallas Cowboys, they've lost 5 of their last 6 home games. Their one win was Thanksgiving against the Giants. Oh, well, look at that. Good for you. And they're, minus 91 point differential, and they're -7 in the turnover differential as well. So as I told you, Jamar Chase is locked in my lineups, Joe Burrow and Chase Brown. Those 3 are where I'm starting, and I'm building out from there. Just write it down like write a circle, all 3 guys, and then lines out, and we can build from there. The over has hit in all of Cincinnati's last 5 games. Dallas 3-8 against the spread, their last 11. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals to win this game 31-24 on the strength of another monster performance from Joe Burrow to Chase Brown to Jamar Chase, as I've said 1,000 times. So be good, be safe. Let's do it all again for Thursday Night Football as we inch closer to Christmas, right? Can't believe it's happening already. Bengals win 31-24. Talk to you later.